All right, this is going to be a sleep deprived weekly recap from the 6th to the 10th, right after eating some Hardee's food. Just a lot of things happened today. I was pretty busy today, but I was busy for all the right reasons, and now I have to do this weekly recap, which is something I actually look forward to, and I can't wait to rewatch this and see how well am I able to do this, especially after a week of not sleeping well to begin with. So. Actually, going over the stats now, this thing was not so bad. It was really frustrating. A lot of trades I didn't trade as well as I could have. There were a bunch of setups that I should have taken that would have worked out. And then there were setups that I did take and simply didn't work out. So I just felt really against me. And the stats show 11 trades and 5.5 out of the trades of these 11 were green. And why I count this as like a point 0.5 because this was a trade where I actually traded a proper position size for a $20 risk level, but I didn't make anything and I didn't lose anything. So I just counted it as point 0.5, which actually led to a 50% winning percentage rate, and 70% of those trades were according to the proper $20 risk level, the 25 if it's an OTC, or $5 if it's a listed stock. And unfortunately, the ones I didn't trade the right amount of shares, it seems like they were setups that did work out. At least this one right here with CYBL. This one I actually would have lost more if I traded the right amount of shares. So I guess it's not totally, like not in favor. My average dollar gain was a bit smaller than my average dollar loss. This was really bad. The average percent loss was much more, but that was because I had this with UONE and listed stocks. I think are really easy to have a big winning percentage or a big losing percentage rate compared to OTCs and OTC setups I trade. So I'm going to give some slack for that, but I obviously don't like it. My average position size was about the same as my average losing position size, and I did have a few trades that kind of sways this to another direction on both sides, but I did have one trade where I actually held this thing for, I believe, over an hour. This one with UONE, and this one was a pretty frustrating stock and it didn't work out. Again, considering how frustrating it was, and I only lost $3.65, I think that's really good. And that was with $1,500 of dollar volume traded overall. So to lose just $3 and trade $1,500 of day trading, sketchy, risky setups, and in and outs, I think that's pretty good. But I obviously would like to see green, and that's going to be the goal, God willing, this following week. Let's go ahead and go over the trades one by one, starting with the first trade with RMSL. This was a morning panic bounce play, and this one was interesting because it had a gap down and it was breaking a resistance level. So let's look at RMSL for the 6th. If I can get it going. RMSL is right here, and as you can see, the 6th is where it had this big gap down day, and it hasn't really been working that well. But from previous experiences, a lot of these that have like a gap down, I guess this one actually did work out. Maybe I've been thinking about another one that didn't work out, but this one, as you can see, offered a really nice move, and that's the key with gap down morning panic bounce place. But I think there was another one. Oh, I think it was UONE. That one did not work out. Let's look at the 6th, which is right here, and I'm going to just highlight it from that point of the day. I was in it at 942, 139. 942 was right here. 139. Why? This thing had a massive gap down. It closed at 3 cents. It opened pretty drastically low. It even went to sub penny level. And before I go over my entry, I did have an interest of buying this when I had this panic and I saw a reversal, and then it kind of broke under 1 penny, went into sub penny, but the return was so quick, and I was thinking maybe it's gonna briefly break this penny level, go to sub penny, and if it comes back and breaks past the penny, I want to be a part of it. But this was such a massive move. As you can see, it went from a penny, and then just 2 minutes later, it's almost a 50% move towards the upside. That's what I want to be a part of when it comes to gap down morning panic bounce place. And again, I was in it right here at this, I believe, what, 137, 139 level at 942. And why? The resistance level was roughly this 14 level, so I got in when it looked like it was going to break past it, and it did break past it, as you can see here. And this actually had a real wick towards 2. I saw a few prints go there, but it wasn't like it was trading that high for a longer period of time. But it did get as high as this 148, so it didn't really work out that much. It ended up just being a little bit of a breakout, and then it kind of went under it, under VWAP, and then it broke past it, and then it eventually made a really nice move. And I hope in the future I can be a part of something like that. I did get out 3 minutes later at 9:45 at 14:35. Right here, 14:35. So I essentially got out right here. I guess I just saw the topping price action and I got out for that reason. Maybe something in the level 2. I like how I sold this thing in 2 pieces, and my last piece was probably much higher, but the average was this 14:35 level. It says that I would have made much more if I sold all at once, but this is not the case most of the time, and that's true. That's something I've been trying to do, and you will see in my later trades that selling in 2 pieces can help me be a lot more profitable. That's something I'm working on, because an issue I've been having is not really holding on to a setup as long as I should for it to be its most profitable. Yeah, I think that was good for what that was. Let's look at the next trade. UONE. This is the one that didn't work out. Let's look at UONE for the 6. So you can see this listed stock had a gap down here, but it never really offered a bounce, and it was so sad. Well, I guess it did actually offer it, but yeah, I think I just never traded the bounces, because then I just would miss out, and then I would then try the ones that don't work out, and it was just frustrating. Let's look at my first trade, which was a late morning panic bounce play. I got in at 12:20, 7:18. 12:20 was right here, and this one specifically I got in at 7:18. So why did I get in? I probably saw that potential morning panic bounce play after it just dropped for so long, and it broke under this round number of $7, and then it came back briefly and started to hold itself, so it looks like a reversal was in, and this actually did reverse. It went from the 713 level, give or take, as high as just under $8. It didn't get to VWAP, but it did get to $8, so that offered, like, pretty close to $1, moved towards the upside, and unfortunately I sold this the next minute at 698. Right here in this wick, I sold it at 698. And why? Am I just some stupid newbie where I'm in the setup? Oh my gosh, it's gonna crash, let me get out, and then it keeps going. In this case, it was because I did not take into consideration that this stock is known to have a wick. As you can see, it has a wick here, it has a wick here, it has a wick here, and I was late to seeing this pattern. And one thing I should have taken into consideration, especially because it's a listed stock, is that I need to look at it. If this thing has the stock that I'm looking at, wicks, I need to take into consideration that maybe I can be in the setup and then it's going to have a wick, and then it will just continue towards the right trajectory and be a profitable setup. And what happened was is that I didn't take that into consideration. I didn't look at it. So when it had that move right there, I thought, oh, this looks really bad. It might try to break the day low. And I got out right before it turned around, and that really sucked. But that was a pretty good lesson. And that's probably what I'm going to add at least one of the notes for this week to get better and just remember it. To consideration. If I can type it, there we go. Otherwise, that was a pretty good setup. It offered opportunity. And let's see what a sell at 747 would have been. So that wouldn't have been the top. At 8, just somewhere a little under half. Let's see what that would have been. That would have been a nice percent gain. Would have been a nice amount of profit. A little oversized, but yeah, I was on the right track. I just sold horribly because I didn't look into those wicks, and I got scared out as soon as one was being formed. Let's look at the next trade, which was UONE again, and this time it was a morning panic bounce play, higher low, double bottom. So Let's look at my entry. 1:17 p.m. I was in at 769. So right here, 769. So why did I get in it? Essentially, this was a morning panic. Here's the bottom. Here's the higher low. And then I'm here because it's a double bottom off of this higher low from the panic bottom. Not really the best setup, and this one, as you can see, clearly did not work out. It downtrended and didn't get to VWAP. I got out 2 minutes later at 7:45, 119. So right here, yeah, I was in it right here. Didn't work out. I got out at the downtrend, and that was L for what that was. A very easy way to lose 3%. Just really don't like the stock. I really don't like the stock, even though I was on the right track with the first trade. It is kind of annoying the way it trades, and there was another point where I missed out on trading it. I think it was this move right here because of how quick it was. I think I'm just going to stay away from the stock. It kind of gives me a bad vibe. And I remember trading it before when it went to like 40, and it still traded like crap. So I think I'll just probably stay away from it. Let's look at the last setup, which is a VWAP Kiss Big Red Day. UONE, same day. I was in at 127, 757. Right here, I got in at 757. And why did I get in? A lot of these stocks that have a really big panic, you know, this wasn't a gap down actually. Now taking a look at it, this thing just had an intraday panic. A lot of these eventually, usually not at the first bounce from the ultimate bottom, but eventually gets to VWAP. And that's why I got in it, because I thought it was going to eventually make a move towards VWAP, and I got in the stock for that reason. And this one did not work out. It did not bounce towards VWAP to save its life. It just kept downtrending. And out of curiosity, let me see what it's done the next few days. It did have a big green day here, but for these days, absolutely nothing, which was, you know, going to be what I was expecting off of this. But at least it did offer a bounce eventually. I did get out much later, and essentially I was thinking, you know, I'm in at 1:27 p.m. right here. It's going to get to VWAP, and I'm going to sell for a profit, or it's going to get near the day low, and I'm going to cut it for a loss. And I stuck to a $5 risk level. What do you know? It didn't bounce. I got out at 2:48 p.m. 7:02, and that was right here. I got out when it just got triggered. I had to stop. I wasn't watching it. I did see at one point I was above my entry point a little, but this was never the goal. My goal was to be in, you know, from the move and then out at VWAP or at the day low, and that was what it was. Kind of killed my confidence on considering listed stocks that drop a lot, which is probably why I like OTCs better, because they seem to be more consistent. Although, you know, it did offer this move here. I can't hate it completely. I've seen uglier ones. I wish I traded it better, and God willing, if there can be another setup like that, I should trade it better. Let's look at the next setup, which it seems like I was really happy with the way I traded. SYXX as another morning panic bounce play gap down for the 7th. Let's look at SYSX for the 7th. Seventh is right here. It did have a gap down. It wasn't huge like RMSL and go to sub penny level, but it is a gap down by textbook definition. 100% a gap down. And as you can compare to UONE, sure, this one wasn't like an intraday panic, but look, it did bounce. It went from the 2 pennies section to the 3, so that's a pretty good move in terms of percentage. Anyway, I was in at 9:33 a.m. at 267. 9:33, I was in right here at 267. Not the best entry, but it looked like it was going to really do it right then and there. Let me zoom in a bit more. I was in right here, and why? Because it kind of had that big, you know, in theory, gap down. It's trading back and forth in this range, and then it looked like it was going to break past it. And I got in it right here, and it did eventually break past the range, but as you can see, it took a bit longer. And then it eventually made a move. I guess I was just not able to hold long enough for it, or maybe I did. Because I got out at 9:51. I got out at 271, 9:51. Right here's when I got out. Actually, right before the uptrend. and I was out on average 271. I might have sold in multiple pieces, or maybe I sold one piece here, but yeah, I had a thing in mind. You know, it was breaking out of the range. It did downtrend, and I held through this actually. I'm very happy that I held through this, even though I didn't, hold just one more minute long enough for it to uptrend, and then I could suffer much more. But this is at least something I was on the right track. Again, before this thing plays out, it's kind of easy to see how it played out ultimately and say, oh, you should have held it longer. Well, hindsight is 2020, and I'm glad I was on the right track. And hopefully, I'll be able to sell something like this in the future much better and be much more profitable. Even though I made just a whopping dollar, I'm very happy with that progress that I managed to hold through that setup. Really happy to see that one. Let's look at the next setup, which is GESI for the 8th. The 8th is right here, and the setup with this one is that it looks like it was going to break $5, and I got in at 931 at 498. This was my break-even trade. 931, 498, and the 8th is right here. Before I get too carried away, I was in it right here at 498, and it opened strong, it opened high, and it looked like it was going to maybe try to break 5 and make a move towards the upside. But something I noticed, and you can even see it here, it can have like a spike in the morning and then it sells off. You see it kind of had like a spike here, sells off, spike here, sells off, spike here, and it sells off. So I was in it at 498, but when I saw the volume dry up and the price action was no longer looking as nice as it was, I did get out at 935 for the same price right here. And I thought if it wasn't gonna look nice and make a breakout past 5, even though it got past it a little bit, it wasn't a true breakout. It failed, and I'm gonna get out of it before it will fail and sell off like it's done consistently. Looking at the previous chat, not chapter, but pattern, and chart, and that was the case there. It did drop. It's still, I think, trading around this level, but it hasn't broken 5. I think that was a good trade for what that was. Let me get a drink of water. There was nothing wrong with that trade. It just didn't work out. Let's look at the next one, which is INND for the 8th as well. High of day breakout. Previous day breakout. Second day. Okay, so I think I know what this one is, but let's take a look at the 8th for INND. Right around here is the 8th. Essentially right here. So the idea was is that this was the first green day, and then this one at the time could have been the second green day. Let's go over the 8th, which is right here. Pretty massive sell-off day. And the idea was is that this thing was not just going to break the intraday high, it was also going to break the previous day high, which was the 79 level. As you can see right there when I put the mouse over this candle, 79 was a very important level, and I believe the high date was definitely the 77, 78 level. I was in at 955.77. So right here, 955.77. I got in the setup right here because it looked like it was going to break the day high and do all of that nice price action that I was wanting to be a part of right here when it kind of broke out of this ceiling right here at 74. And I think there was like a big seller that got bought out and it made this uptrend, and I got in it. It looked like it was going to potentially make a move, break this level 78 and then break 79, and then this thing can be in the 80s. Strong second green day, super profitable sub penny price, and it did not work out unfortunately, but I did get out at a pretty good price, which is like just under 76 at 1003. 1003 is when I got out right here. This might have been like, right around here, maybe in 2 pieces I sold. it didn't work out, and I'm glad I sold. You know, it did eventually break on the VWAP. It did try one more time, but the momentum is not the same for a high day breakout the later it is in the day, unless it's like in the afternoon and it's been looking strong. This one just sold off. Unfortunately, it didn't become a second green day, but I think I did my best with that one. And out of curiosity, yeah, it continued to sell off. It's not really that nice right now, but if it can try to consolidate and then maybe break this level, you know, the 77, 79 level, this can be a nice multi-day breakout setup. Let's look at CYBL for the ninth, which is a morning spike big bidder. Let's look at CYBL for the ninth. And the ninth is going to be right here. Very similar to IND, potential second green day. Here's the first green day. And it's not just like any other, you know, pop off day. It has a very nice amount of volume. And again, the ninth is going to be right here. So this one did not work out, but it looks better than IND. Was in at 934, 184. I'll zoom in a bit more right here, 934. 184. Why did I get in it? The idea was is that the previous day high on this potential first green day with a very nice amount of volume was 177. So right here, when it kind of broke past 177 and it broke 18, I missed out on the setup and that really stunk. I think I was looking at GESI. And then, you know, I thought that's too bad, but then I actually got in the setup at 935, I believe, right? 934, almost 935. I got in at this price point because I saw a 1 million share bidder show up at the bid, and that is super bullish for a morning spike. So I got in it for that reason. And as you can see, the top it was only 188, but I was quick to get in and quick to get out because I knew I wasn't in at the best price. I got out not the next minute. What? I got out at 186. I think I might have. I think I meant to put 935. Let me just see if that's realistic. 186, 955. Yeah, that would not have been possible. I'm gonna just take a quick look and see if I got the timing there. Or maybe I sold in two pieces and that was the average. Let me just take a quick look. All right, I am back. And yeah, it was just a typo in the chart. As you can see right here, I only held it for a minute. And again, I got in at this point right here because it was that big bidder. And I got the next minute because I probably didn't like the price action. And I did call the top. I even drew a trend line later. And you can see that as soon as it started to break the trend line right here, this would have been like the sign to get out. And then it did downtrend. And I believe I traded it one more time after this on this same day. So yeah, totally had the time off. I probably meant to put a 3 there, not a 5. There we go. I guess that will change the stats a little too. Okay, all right. Let's look at the next trade with CYBL. And this was the same day. First dip under VWAP in resistance breakout. I was undersized here. I was in at 951.18. So right here I was in. Why did I get in it? Again, potential second green day, very strong first green day, good volume, morning spike, drops, and I try to be a part of it here, but this was a bit too quick. Spikes, drops, but it drops near the same level as it was previously, and VWAP is the goal. It's clearly trading around it, and my voice clearly wants to die, so let me get some more water. All right, and I did get in it right here just to be sure. Yeah, 951. I got in because it looked like it was going to break VWAP, and it's also that round number of 18. And as you can see, it did get to 188, so it was clearly room for potential. I got out at 955 at an average of 8275, so almost 183. Let's look at 955, and my voice still wants to die. It's like drinking water does not help it. I got out right here, and I was not too happy with the way I traded it. I think what I did, let me just look at my notes. Yeah, I think I sold one piece right here at like maybe 184 or 183, and then I sold the other piece very quickly. But the problem was is that, me trying to sell in two pieces and be more profitable, I sold the first piece at an uptrend, which is fine. But then the second piece, I didn't sell it because of a trend line breaking. I didn't sell it because it dropped and broke my original entry. It didn't break under VWAP. It didn't do something strategic or according to a chart pattern. I just sold the second half because I just didn't feel good about it. And that did make me miss out of this ultimate top, which would have been pretty bad if it were to have gone to 19 and then continued more and, made a really proper second green day instead of this candle, which isn't as bad as IN and D at least. And again, I don't mind selling the first piece immediately because maybe it just works a little and then it sells off and it fails. But that second piece I should have sold at a very strategic point, whether again it's a trendline break or breaks my risk level. I just sold it when I thought, okay, this might be the top, and that was pretty dumb. And that's why I was okay with it, but I wasn't like, wow, I did this one well. And I was undersized here. It seems like I should have traded twice the amount of shares, which would have made that more profitable. But that's fine. It was kind of weird that I believe the previous trade, it was close to a $20 risk level right here with 10,000 shares, and now, it was much less, and that's because I was in right here at 18, and I was much closer to my risk level than I was back here trying to chase a morning spike. Just because a big bidder showed up. That was the case with that. And let's look at the next trade. This was the next day morning panic bounce play with CYBL on the 10th. So that's right here. 10th is right here. And this one did play out, but the volume wasn't really there. And I can also add this since I just remembered it now. There we go. Use tighter limits on low volume stocks. Morning panic bounce play I was in at 938, 16. Right here at 16. Why did I get in it? It was down just under 10% on the day, and it was trading here and consolidating. It had a wick here, smaller wick right here, and the goal would be for it to break this level of 16 and make a move towards VWAP, which it did. VWAP was not very far at 164 with a top at 166. And just to go over it again, I was in at 938. So that was right here at 938. I got in it, and the problem is that I didn't want to be in at 16. I wanted to be in at 158, but I didn't want to take the time to change the price to 158 and then place an order, especially when a seller was at 158 at the ask. And what happened is that when I placed my order, I didn't execute immediately. But what happened is that the seller at 158 disappeared, and then 16 showed up, and I got executed 20,000 shares at 16. But that seller at the ask had 100,000 shares, so that looks like a huge red flag. I'm in at a price that I didn't want to be at. Right after a big seller at the ask shows up, I get executed, and it might bully the price down and then break this level right here, 158, give or take, and then get even lower, and then maybe break the official day low and be super bad. So as soon as that happened, I wanted to get out of it, even though it did work out ultimately. I got out at 159 at 940, so just 2 minutes later. and I got out right here. Even though it did uptrend later, I should have had a tighter limit. I then would have not have been executed at 16 with that 100K seller. And then maybe later on in the next few minutes, I would have saw another ideal opportunity and I could have been executed, and then I would have been a part of the subtrend because I didn't just get freaked out. I would have saw that 100K seller get taken out, and that was the case with that. And let's see what a sell potentially at 165 would have been, just to see how profitable it could have been. Yeah, that would have been super nice. I hope I can be a part of that. I was pretty close, but I just should have had a tighter limit. And again, only because this one did not have that much volume. If it trades with more volume, you can sometimes put a limit at a much higher price than what it's trading, but you're not going to get executed there. And that was a good lesson for what that was. Let's look at the last trade, which is a morning panic bounce play with LWLG. I've traded this a few times, and I think I will actually trade listed stocks that used to be OTCs with the same amount of dollar risk global as I currently trade with OTCs, which in this case would be 4 times as much um, position. Let's look at LWLG for the 10th. That is right here, the last day, of course. Not a very significant looking red day, but as you can see, it did kind of break this range. You know, it did break this support level. So that kind of made it more interesting. And let's highlight it. I got in at 10:15 a.m. at 9, not 9, 5:95. 10:13, I got in right here. Baller entry. Really? 10:15 at 5:95. Let me zoom in this a bit more. Okay, right here. All right, so right around here, just under this 596 level. Okay, so yeah, you can see the morning panic bounce play. If I were to draw a trend line, it would have broken it right around here. And I got in on the uptrend right under 596. My entry was right here. I sold at 1019. My average was a whopping 597, which is barely anything. Right here is when I got out my last piece, and I had an average of I believe this 597 level, which is not very much. Yeah. I was in the setup for 3 minutes, and let's see my notes. My entry was good. My first sell was fine. And the second sell wasn't. This was exactly the same case I had with, I believe CYBL. But I had that same issue where I was in the setup. Again, pretty good entry for what it was. And then I probably had to sell during the uptrend. But what happened was is that I didn't wait for a trend line to break. I didn't wait for maybe a higher low to form, which was the case here. You know, this is a higher low from here. And even if it were to have been on the point where I'm in it right here, I hold for the higher low. And then I sell right here when it breaks it. Fine, at least I stuck to a pattern. But I essentially sold one piece and then I sold the other piece. And that was just dumb. I wasn't trading appropriately in that sense. And had I avoided, you know, maybe I would have saw this downtrend right here and I could have traded it again and cut it. Second piece right here for less. That would have allowed me to be in a setup that eventually would have gotten a VWAP and that would have been profitable. I just need to get better. I am doing better in that I would immediately get in and get out, and now I'm getting in and getting out of 2 pieces, but now I need to get in, get out at an uptrend, and then get out the other half or the next piece of the trade when it just does something significant in terms of a trend line or a risk level or a support resistance level, something like that. Maybe even something in the level 2 showing up. I need to get better so that can allow me to hold positions better, not longer, better and more profitably. That's it for this weekly recap. I think I did much better considering the circumstances in terms of my deprived sleep, but God willing, I can keep going and get better. And yeah, pretty good lessons there. I'll probably add that to the calendar right there, and that's all I have for this video here.